Hi, welcome to my channel where reality can be whatever I want. As you can tell, I am Ray of Sunshine. And I was gonna take things a step forward and get a chance to talk about more in depth of Star Wars. Of course, everyone wants to hear my opinions about it, and do something to where I watch everything in timeline order. I'm gonna be cheating with this one though. Well, I'm gonna watch Star Wars in timeline order, to which I've never done before. I've only watched it in release order when everything was coming out. So I think it would be pretty interesting for me to watch everything in timeline order, just see things differently, maybe a little bit, or maybe just, I don't notice things that happen later on. I've never done it before, and I thought I'd try something new and document my experience through it. So I'm going to be starting off with Tales of the Jedi, and I'm going to be breaking my own rules for the first episode, maybe as we continue forward. It just depends on my mood. But I'm going to be watching, I watched all of them all the way through. I didn't want to go back and watch the ones after episode 1 and after some Clone Wars episodes, yada yada yada, because I would simply forget. And I really don't want to go back and watch it. I wanted to watch it the way it was intended, all the way through. I already know what happens, so it's fine.
Let's go.
But Tales of the Jedi is about two people who aren't really Jedi anymore. It's with Count Dooku and Ahsoka, and they go through different experiences in their lives, and it's probably about an hour and 30 minutes with all the episodes together. And it goes through different things, trials, parallels in their life, to where they would never admit for themselves that, hey, we're kind of the same. And I really think I think it's a very interesting concept, and it's one of my new favorite things to come out in the last maybe 4 years from so I like Star Wars Disney anyway, but something that actually has like some meaning to it, but that's a whole other conversation for Dave Filoni and another video if anyone cares about those opinions. So
We really don't give a fuck. It's not a major holiday. It's really not.
I'm gonna be going into some spoilers. I would recommend you go and watch it. This is not a summary of anything that happens in it. I'm going to just start talking about the episodes like you have already seen it. So this one is basically, it's Ahsoka. She's born. We have to see every moment of her life, and she was born in this tribe, which I'm very shocked she comes from a very good upbringing. I was expecting something not very happy for her people that I don't want to talk about. But anyway, she comes from this village, and if you see me looking down, I'm looking at notes just because I can do what I want to. She comes from this village, and she has two parents. Who would have thought? And there's like a village grandma that blesses her, and her mom is going out to teach her how to hunt, essentially, and to not fear death, but that, you know, life and death happen every single day, and to take what you need from life. And if you take too much, we'll get to that in the next episode. But she, basically, there's this tiger, and her mom doesn't kill a tiger, her mom kills a deer, but her mom ends up killing this deer, and her back is turned away, and she's like, are you ready to go, Ahsoka? And then Ahsoka gets taken by this like tiger, and she uses the Force to have it bring her back home, and essentially it means that she either wasn't afraid, she faced her fear to touch the tiger, or she wasn't afraid of anything, so she was able to use the Force. That's how I took it. I didn't look up anything out of that. This is how I'm viewing Star Wars, not anyone else.
Period. 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 Period.
So one of the things I did notice for relating to other Clone Wars episodes is that Ahsoka's mom had the same coat as Ahsoka did in the episodes where she would go with those episodes with Death Watch and Lux. And I thought that was very sick and twisted of Dave Filoni. And she has the same noises as the child from The Mandalorian. Little Grogu. I don't know if we're out of voice memos for children or the adult in the booth making them. If anything, Bradley T. Baker can make probably a good baby noise. That man will voice anything with a pulse. Anyway, another thing I thought, it was, I don't know if this was the intention or not, but the way everything was set up with the tiger and everything, it made me think of Tarzan a little bit. I don't know if this was the intention, but you know that scene where the tiger comes to kill Tarzan, kills Tarzan's parents and then doesn't kill Tarzan? That's kind of like what it made me think of, even though it has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. I just thought that was a little fun concept of media reminding me of other media. So, and then of course this is another like sad thing to talk about. I wish we would have gotten a Clone Wars episode to where Ahsoka has to go back to her village and she sees her mom, her biological mother, and her father. And I know she did technically go back to her home world and save them during that whole arc, but I think it would be interesting to see people who she actually has a connection to, and to see Anakin be like, hey, this is where you come from, because we got to see Ahsoka seeing where Anakin came from when they've only known each other for what, like an hour, when she found out he was enslaved on Tatooine. Probably that the whole concept wasn't even thought of at the time when they were doing it, but I just thought it would be very, very interesting. And then the next one, we go into Count Dooku and a young Qui-Gon Jinn. And for those who don't know, Dooku trained Qui-Gon, who's Liam Neeson. Anyway, so they're basically like helping get a senator's son back who was kidnapped by the people of the town because the people of the town are being treated bad by the senator. And they're like, we need to get his attention somehow to help us. And so it basically has them being like, hey, like, we didn't mean to do it, but like, we kind of did. And then the Jedi are like, oh, okay, we get it. Like, we get it, you know? So I do think that it shows how, because throughout the episode, the first one was just like full of life, and then what I was talking about with this one, you can just see all of the death. Like, if you take too much, there's nothing left. Almost like, it made me think of the movie Mother with Jennifer Lawrence, and the whole, you know, if you take and take and take and take and take, there's just gonna be nothing left. So Dooku has a different way of looking. Dooku has a different way of looking for things such as justice. To Dooku, killing the senator is justice, but to Qui-Gon, having actual change is just justice, and death doesn't make it good. Actual change is the justice, if that makes sense. And the next one, it's Mace and Count Dooku, and they're investigating a Jedi council member's death. So they are not council members yet, and I don't think Dooku ever was one. Was he? I don't know. I don't know. That's not what we're talking. I don't think he was. I don't think he was. If he was, that would. No, he wasn't. No. Dooku was not a part of the Jedi Council. Anyway, they're investigating the death of a Jedi Council member, and they have to go to a planet that would later be a separatist planet that Dooku would govern. Small world, huh? So Dooku is again like, hey, we have to go and investigate this, and Mace is like, we should call mommy and daddy in the Jedi Council, and Dooku's like, you're kind of annoying the way you always follow rules. So they basically find out like why she was murdered. She was murdered by the head of security, and then they murdered the senator, and then they were going to use the senator to make the planet better because the planet sucks. Politicians using power again. But they end up doing it in Dooku's way, and Dooku doesn't contact the Jedi Council, and then Mace Windu ends up getting the seat on the Jedi Council, making more enemies out of people who turn to the dark side. Mace, you're not doing a good job, buddy. You're not doing a good job with that.
This party's over.
Do think I love Mace Windu, but Anakin and Count Dooku probably don't. Anakin Skywalker would probably rather die than admit him and Count Dooku have such good parallels. But that's, again, they would never sit at the round table together. And then the next one takes place during the Phantom Menace. I want to say like either during the Phantom Menace or like 5 minutes before. Anyway, so we basically see Count Dooku delete Kamino off of the Jedi Star map system thing in the library, and then we see his final moments with Qui-Gon before he goes on the mission to see talk about negotiations, and before he goes to talk about whatever's going on in episode 1, right? Another story for another time. And then Dooku goes to go see Sidious, and he's like, hey, I basically did what you did, but my apprentice is dead. And Sidious is like, oh my god, bro, me too. Bro, you know what? We should work together. We should work together. And Dooku's like, yeah, I guess you're right. So, and then this girl named Yaddle, who's like the female version of Yoda, same species, but she doesn't talk like him. Is Yoda just a silly, goofy girl? Yes. And then, so they end up having a big fight, and it turns into, so there are 2 doors, and then Count Dooku uses the Force, and then Yaddle's standing in there, and you go, oh my gosh, Yaddle just became mashed potatoes. And then she lifts up the door, and then the light shines on Count Dooku and Sidious, and she's like, yeah, bitch, the light's always there. Even if you don't want it to be, the light will always be there. Even if you're stuck all the way down the darkness, the light is always there, bitch. And she's like, hey, join me. Like, we can figure this out together. Join me. And then he goes, nah. And then kills her. So a really part of Count Dooku's lesson is, throughout all of these, is that, you know, he took it to like one extreme after the other, but Star Wars always teaches you have a choice of how you can fight. And this is another case of you always have a choice of how you can break the rule. And then to me, this is a choice of how you can break the rules. And, you know, Count Dooku took it from one extreme to the other, but in the next episode relating to Jedi who always break the rules, Anakin and Ahsoka, not so much Obi-Wan, but, you know. So they're basically training Ahsoka. Anakin's late to the meeting, and Obi-Wan makes fun of him. And then we have Anakin use the same line to Ahsoka. And I thought that was very, 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 very cheesy. Of course, love it. And whether if they want to admit it or not, they're all part of one little family that is part of the Jedi lineage, if we want to say that, of Count Dooku's teachings. I don't know who Count Dooku's master is. I think it was Master Yoda. Not sure. I'll have to look into that. But it's all a part of those teaching legacies, which I think is really neat. But it also deals with Anakin having the same thoughts as Dooku, thinking that the Jedi can do better. We're better than this. He's training her with teaching her how to survive with droids, but you know, it's relating to where he says the episode title of the first episode, Life and Death. Anakin's like, this is literally life and death. This is war. I'm going to teach you how to survive. So we go through different montages of her learning how to defend herself against the clones. And then it cuts to Order 66 with her walking out with Rex. And basically, Anakin taught her how to survive Order 66. We kind of already knew that, but they really dug it in. Anyway, So, and then in the last one, which is like my least favorite episode, we got to see Ahsoka at Padme's funeral, and Padme
Dead as hell.
So in the last one, which is my least favorite episode, we see Ahsoka at Padme's funeral, and she runs into Bail Organa, and Bail Organa's like, "Girl, what are you doing? We could fight." And she's like, I'm gonna take a break. Throwing in my towel, I'm over it. And then he goes, "Okay, girl, call me up whenever you wanna fight again." So she ends up staying, I don't know the name of the planet, but she ends up, she's doing different jobs on different planets. I only know from the Ahsoka novel, but I think this is a retcon of the Ahsoka novel, so don't count me on that. That's another story for another time. But she is basically working, and she cannot help herself to not help people, which, good for you, girl. Very in character for her. Love that for her. And she ends up using the Force to help save someone, and then the person ends up snitching on her that she saved, and they bring in an Inquisitor, and then of course,
okay, get in.
goes the Inquisitor. Ahsoka 1, Inquisitor 0, you know what I mean? So, and then she gets her lightsabers from those crystals, which is like another story for another time. Anyway, but to me it was also another very good lesson of how Ahsoka broke the rules, but she didn't go as far as Count Dooku. She was more reserved in herself, and her and Dooku both left the Order, and she couldn't go back and be a count of some planet. She had to go and basically go into hiding. Well, even like maybe months she left the Jedi Order, she had to go and do jobs. And she couldn't just, I mean, I don't, you know, like she didn't have that privilege to go and be like, "Hey, see ya," and be rich. So she is always using her tools of right or wrong, and if you get used to using, you know, like doing the right thing feels right if you do it all the time, and, you know, doing the wrong thing feels horrible if you don't do it all the time, you know what I mean? So, you know, Dooku hesitates in the beginning, but he is very used to doing the wrong thing later in the movies. But Ahsoka is very used to doing the right thing, and she doesn't let her fear of getting in the way of doing that. So to conclude the video, I really do think we should have more of little short episodes like this to compare different characters, even if they're not just Jedi. I really love the idea of two different characters, you know, having some sort of the same story, but, you know, taking it and going completely opposite ways. And I think it's very, very interesting if you do it with more Jedi. I would be interested in it, or, you know, Tales of the Sith or Tales of the Bounty Hunter, whatever, girl, whatever. I'm a sucker for what does Virgil say? It's like poetry, it rhymes. Yeah. Anyway, I'm all for that theme in Star Wars, as always. I eat it up every time. But if you like the video, thanks for hanging out, sitting out, listen to me yap. Welcome to Ray of Sunshine Ville. Ray of Sunshine Nation? Sunshine Nation? I can't say Ray Nation, because, like, that's, like, the character. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But anyway, go ahead and like if you want, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. Bye.